This film is not classified as a film noir on imdb.com, and I, for the life of me, can't tell you why. It fits squarely in the classic film noir time frame. The movie is told in flashback by a suspect in police interrogation. Stylistically, the film is dark. The main bad guy only wears black. It deals with complex themes of social bullying, assault, murder, robbery, and infidelity. The film also has acute angles as the heroine fears for her life. Most importantly, this film exhibits a fear of existential dread. Can crime come to your front door even though you've done everything correctly but others around you have failed? Playing the homicidal kidnapper is one of the greatest country singers ever. Full stop. Also in this film is a beloved television star from 2 major American sitcoms. He also made a mark as a director. The gangster narrating this story is a star from another beloved American sitcom that will be recognizable immediately from one catchphrase. Hello to all the classic people that are returning. I'm glad you're back. I want to welcome any new visitors and let you know that there will be spoilers ahead. Today on Classic Movie Review, we are taking on 5 Minutes to Live, 1961. This film was re-released in 1966 as Door-to-Door Maniac. I was really excited when I discovered this film. Wow, a film noir starring Johnny Cash. Well, not quite. As I said before, it's not officially a film noir on the database, but it is for me. This film is very short, running around 75 minutes. It is not great, and except for watching Johnny Cash play a pretty convincing maniac, I wouldn't recommend watching it. However, most of the actors are pretty good, except for Donald Woods, who seems like a cutout version of Hugh Marlowe. This film has a pretty low 5.5 rating on imdb.com. On RottenTomatoes.com, it does not have a tomato meter score and a terrible 32% audience approval. I could not locate any contemporary reviews. Actors. Ron Howard played young boy Bobby Wilson. We have been with Howard since the Andy Griffith Show 1960 to 68, Happy Days 1974 to 84, and American Graffiti 1973. Man, that guy can act and direct. Howard was first covered in the excellent John Wayne film The Shootist 1976, which I have an audio review on. The link will be in the description. The Man in Black, Johnny Cash, played the role of a psychopathic killer, Johnny Cabot. Cash was born poor in one of the poorest parts of the country in one of our poorest times, Arkansas, in 1932. At the age of 18, Cash joined the Air Force and went to training in Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. He met his future first wife here, but was sent to Germany for 3 years. Cash finished his service as a staff sergeant. Small-town Southern boys do really well in the military for some reason.
It's not really hard. You just make your bed real neat, remember to stand up straight, and always answer every question with, "Yes, drill sergeant."
Cash made his first recording at Sun Records in 1955. He had a great career, but was plagued with alcohol and drug abuse. Eventually, with the help of his second wife, June Carter, he was able to get straight. Because of his deep voice and interesting appearance, Cash found work in a few films and on many television shows. 5 Minutes to Live, 1961, was Cash's first movie. As far as I'm concerned, he pulled it off. He was in A Gunfighter 1971 with Kirk Douglas. He played a murderous preacher in an episode of Columbo 1971, and he was pretty good. He got a good review playing the sheriff in Murder in Coweta County 1983. For some reason, Cash and fellow singers Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson remade Stagecoach 1939 for television. Why, oh why? Generally, it should be avoided, but some good outlaw country came out of the collaboration. Cash and June Carter had a country music variety show, The Johnny Cash Show, from 1969 to 1971. Cash died in 2003 as one of the most successful and important country singers in the world. Vic Tayback played gangster Fred Dorella. Tayback was born in 1930 in New York City. He graduated from Burbank High School in 1950. Tabak joined the Navy and didn't begin acting until he was 25 years old. Given his dark complexion and gruff demeanor, Tabak was a natural bad guy and often worked small parts. Tabak was in many movies, but he is really known for one sitcom. His movies include Gangster Story 1959, North to Alaska 1960 with John Wayne, 5 Minutes to Live 1961, and a small bit in Bullet 1968. In the 1970s, Tabak worked more often in films like Blood and Lace 1971 with Gloria Graham, Emperor of the North 1973, a very interesting railroad film, Papillon 1973, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot 1974, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore 1974, The Gambler 1974, not the one with Kenny Rogers, The Blackbird 1975, a George Segal, The Maltese Falcon 1941 slap up, The Choir Boys 1977, and voice work in All Dogs Go to Heaven 1989. Like all good actors, Tabak appeared in Star Trek 1966-69, in A Piece of the Action 1966 as a Capone-style space gangster. As for the show that Tabak is famous for,
Kiss my grand!
if you know, you know. Tabak played Grouchy Cook, Mel Sharples, in Alice from 1976 to 1985, where Alice and Flo worked. He won 2 Emmys for the role. Tabak died in 1990. Kay Forrester played the victim, Nancy Wilson. She was born in California in 1921. Kay began acting in 1943. Some of her more interesting films include Queen of the Amazons, 1946, Don't Gamble with Strangers, 1946, Film Noir's Cannon City, 1948, and DOA, 1949. There'll be a link for that in the description. 5 Minutes to Live, 1961, Advise and Consent, 1962, a movie I recommend for everyone, and Fuzz, 1972. Perhaps more importantly, she wrote the screenplay for 5 Minutes to Live, 1961. Kay died in 2005. Kung Pao. Story. This movie begins with gangster Fred Dorella, Vic Tabak, being interrogated by the police in one of the best examples of chiaroscuro lighting I have seen in a film. In the finest film noir tradition, this tale is told in flashback. Dorella tells that he went to Camellia Gardens to try a small-town robbery.
I was here to prove a point, a theory of mine.
But John Cabot, Johnny Cash, was there hiding out after a failed robbery. Cabot and his partner were set up. Cabot likes killing. The credits roll with Johnny Cash singing 5 Minutes to Live, a song he wrote for the movie. Camellia Gardens is shown to be a nondescript, peaceful town. Dorella continues that Cabot had been hiding out in a hotel and was pretty bored by small-town life. He just played his guitar all day. Cabot's girl, Doris Johnson, played by Midge Ware, came out to hide with him. Doris is a real beauty. She supports the pair by working as a waitress. Hash slinger, as she calls it.
Need any help?
Yeah, you can mend it.
Honey, I don't think you appreciate me.
The hotel phone rings and Max, Merle Travis, is looking for Cabot. Merle also played the guitar on 5 Minutes to Live. She takes the message that a friend of Danny's is looking for Cabot. Cabot thinks he might find out who ratted him out on the earlier robbery and calls Max back immediately. Max is with Dorella as Dorella bowls. Max is small time and tries to get a fee for the introduction. Doris comes with Cabot and meets Dorella. Dorella says he knows Doris by another name and asks her about Whitey Roski. Dorella orders her away and Cabot shows his first flash of anger. Dorella and Cabot talk in private. Dorella says it is a 2-man bank job. Cabot wants 30% of the take. Dorella says he has a way to take the bank. He shows Cabot a newspaper article that has Nancy Wilson, Kay Forrester, as the homemaker of the year, and she is married to Ken Wilson, Donald Woods, who is the president of the bank they will rob. The plan is simple. Cabot will take Nancy hostage, and Dorella will demand the money from her husband. Dorella will call Cabot every 5 minutes during the job. If the call doesn't come on time, Cabot is to kill Nancy. Cabot is pretty drunk when he returns to Doris at the hotel. Dorella's narration includes that he told Cabot about Doris's past. Doris is already planning on how to spend the money. Cabot tells her she will get a present. He then puts a silencer on his pistol. He tells Doris that she is Whitey's woman before murdering her.
Oh, Johnny. I'm your woman.
No, you're not my woman. You're Whitey Roski's woman.
The next day, Cabot arrives to meet Dorella in a new car he has purchased with his advance. Dorella is waiting in a convertible. They are parked across the street from Ken and Nancy's home. Is it just me? I noticed strange cars parked on my street with people sitting in them. It seems in the movies, people never notice. What about you? Cabot is dressed as a door-to-door salesman for guitar lessons. Dorella has Nancy and Ken's movements all mapped out. Cabot comments on what a mess Nancy is when she comes out in a housecoat to get her milk and paper. In the house, Nancy calls her husband, Ken, and son, Bobby, Ron Howard, to breakfast. All Nancy has on her mind is a speech she was to give at the women's club that afternoon. Bobby complains that she promised to buy him a new baseball uniform. Ken comes out and he is over the entire domestic scene. He is also hungover. Ken has been staying out late at night and refuses to take Bobby to get a new uniform. Ken complains that Nancy is spending too much time in the city's women's club. She reminds him she is doing it for him. Nancy gets a call from the overly demanding Priscilla Arbach, Norma Verdon, the grand dame of the town. She is the sister of the wife of the owner of the bank where Ken works. Priscilla has decided they want Ken to be the president of the PTA. Ken tries to ask Nancy for a divorce, but she is in too much of a loving mood. Ken leaves for work. Bobby will head out for school shortly. Cabot freaks out when he sees Bobby. He doesn't want to do any job that involves kids. Dorella explains that Bobby will be at school during the robbery and hostage-taking. Ken arrives at the home of his girlfriend, Ellen Harcourt, Pamela Mason. Ken was with Ellen the night before. She chews him out for being late for their planned breakfast. Ellen is mad because Ken didn't ask for the divorce this morning. They both leave for work. Cabot gets his pistol and silencer ready. Bobby plans to come home at noon to pick up money for a play. Dorella says he will make the first call between 10:30 and 11, and Cabot should not kill unless he must. Cabot bluffs his way inside Nancy's house by letting her win $10 by guessing what he is selling. He's carrying a guitar case.
I'm sorry, I never buy from a door-to-door sales.
But lady, I'll give you $10 if you guess what I'm selling. I bet you can't guess what I'm selling. $10.
You certainly got a new approach.
Cabot asks for water and then pulls a gun on Nancy. He takes the $10 back. Cabot plays his guitar as he waits for the call from Dorella. Ellen and Ken are in the car, and she wants to go to Las Vegas and make a new start. He agrees to take a flight at 6:15 that evening. At the house, the phone rings and Cabot has Nancy answer it. It's spam.
You don't knit. Why, you disappoint me, Miss Wilson. I thought you was a perfect wife.
Me?
You know, Miss Wilson, this is the first time I ever got this close to a perfect wife. And I've always wondered what one looked like.
Cabot sings 5 Minutes to Live. When Ken arrives, the bank owner, Mr. Johnson, Leslie Kimmel, speaks with him about rumors of his affair with Ellen. Ken rebuffs the man who controls his entire destiny.
It's none of my business, but not the PTA. No, Miss Ellen Harcourt. What about Miss Harcourt? Nice girl. My wife trades with her at Carol's dress shop. Yes? You see her quite frequently?
Ken then asks if a divorce would be enough of a scandal to get him fired. Mr. Johnson says maybe before leaving. Back at the house, Cabot fires his silenced pistol at a vase on the mantel. The shot cuts a small crease in Nancy's cheek.
Are you an entertainer?
No, Mrs. Wilson, I'm not. I'm a killer. Don't move.
She then realizes the magnitude of her troubles, but doesn't know why. Cabot starts making Nancy fix her hair so she looks nicer. Cabot begins to sexually terrorize Nancy.
Look, honey, I ain't married to you. Maybe bank presidents don't mind their women looking like that, but I do. Now, you take all that junk off. Remove the artillery. You wouldn't want to make the front pages looking like that, would you?
What front pages? What are you talking about?
Probably all of them. You know, this is the kind of stuff that sells papers. Now,
He then kills some Toby mugs. Nancy fights back, and Cabot toys with her like he's a bullfighter. He then forces her into the bedroom. Dorella meets with Max outside of the bank. He tells Max to stay by the payphone and call a number if Dorella leaves the bank. Otherwise, Max should just leave.
Wait here for me. Well, I've got things. When you see me walk out of that bank across the street, call that number. If I don't come out, don't call.
Now, for your younger set, payphones used to cost a nickel in the 30s, a dime in the 60s and 70s, and a quarter more recently before they went out of style. There was a big police campaign to report people that were selling drugs, and they were telling you to drop a dime, put a dime in the payphone. But when it went up to a quarter, their slogan didn't work anymore. In Nancy's closet, Cabot finds a sexy nightgown that he orders her to change into at gunpoint.
you get this, and you wear that. You know, it's just about time you started wearing this little joke. Put it on.
Put it on?
Right now.
He throws her onto the bed, but an alarm on the stove stops the attack. She then puts on the gown and makeup, hoping to seduce Cabot. She can't go through with it and asks for death. Dorella enters the bank and is admitted to Ken's office. He wants to cash a check for $70,000. Dorella says one of the bank officers can verify his identity. He tells Ken that he is the man who will vouch for him because he knows everything about him and his wife. He also explains that Cabot is holding his wife hostage and will kill her if he doesn't receive the scheduled phone call at 5-minute intervals.
$70,000? This is rather large.
Yes. But an okay from one of the bank executives should be sufficient identification.
Oh, certainly, Mr. Durrell. I didn't understand. Which one of the bank executives here are you acquainted with?
You, Mr. Wilson.
What?
You, Mr. Wilson. You'll okay it.
Me? Why, I've never seen you before in my life.
Right now, she's at home with a friend of mine.
A friend of yours?
Well, let's say a business associate of mine. That would be a better description.
Mr. Durrell, what is this?
Very simple, Mr. Wilson.
This is a holdup.
Cabot continues to terrorize Nancy as she freaks out. Dorella has Ken call home. Nancy answers, and Cabot confirms that she is a hostage. Cabot talks to Dorella to make sure everything is okay. Dorella says he will call back in 5 minutes or less. After the call, Ken gets a call from Ellen. He says he will have to call her back, and she ironically says she will only give him 5 minutes. Ken tells Dorella that he is leaving with Ellen and that killing his wife would be a favor. At the house, Nancy gets a call from Priscilla. Ken watches the time tick away as he refuses to give Dorella the money. Cabot is preparing to murder Nancy as the call finally comes in. Ken and Dorella head to the bank vault at the same time Ellen calls again. The secretary puts Ellen on hold. Dorella, Ken, and Stevens, maybe Charles Buck, count the money in the vault. Pop, Howard Wright, thumps through a stack of wanted posters in the bank office until he finds one with Dorella's picture. Dorella says there is plenty of time as he will make the final call after he leaves the bank. Armed with a pistol, Pop tries to arrest Dorella. Ken holds Pop, and Dorella begins running away. Someone sets off the bank alarm. A customer fights with Dorella until Stevens conks him in the head with a bag of coins. Ken tries to wake Dorella to make the call. Outside, Max flees without making the call. Cabot is getting meaner as he waits for the call. He turns her head and places the gun against it. Suddenly, the phone rings.
Now I'm ready, Miss Wilson. Nothing personal. You won't even feel it.
No, please don't.
It's Priscilla. Priscilla starts demanding that Nancy talk to her about Ken and the PTA. Priscilla won't take any excuse to get off the phone. Finally, Cabot hangs the phone up and says Nancy has 1 more minute. The police speed towards the house. Bobby comes home for lunch. Nancy tries to warn him away, but the small boy enters another door in the house. Cabot is panicking as the police arrive outside the house. With the police demanding he surrender, Cabot grabs Bobby and runs out the side door. An officer gets an angle on Cabot and demands he drop Bobby. Cabot shoots the officer, and the dying officer returns fire and kills Bobby. Cabot seems to have a bout of consciousness about the dead boy. Cabot makes a pillow for Bobby out of his jacket while he screams over and over, "Don't die, kid, don't die."
No. No, kid. No, kid. No. Don't die, boy.
The other officer comes around and shoots Cabot. Cabot has an extended death scene but finally dies.
You come get me and this kid you killed. You killed the kid.
Nancy is freaking out when Bobby runs around the house.
Here I am, Mom, over here.
Under questioning, Bobby says when the gun fired, he played dead just like on television.
Oh, my baby.
What are you worried about?
What am I? Oh.
Why did I fool him? I just pretended I was shot.
Oh.
Son, do you mean you pretended you were dead?
Sure, it was easy, just like on TV.
Later, Ken calls Nancy and tells her to send Bobby to her sisters and that she and him are going on a trip to Las Vegas. They also state how much they are in love. Ellen is holding on the phone line the entire time and hears every word.
We're going to Las Vegas this evening.
Oh, Ken, you're mad. I could never get packed if not for Las Vegas.
Then don't pack anything. We'll buy something there. Darling, I'll be home very soon, and I love you very much.
Nancy screams because the newspaper people are photographing her in her sexy nightgown. When Ken picks up the other phone, Ellen simply hangs up, realizing she has been cast aside. Dorella finishes telling the story at the police station. He is shocked by the country people and their simple lives being more complex than he thought. He smushes a cigarette out on the picture of Nancy in the newspaper.
Well, that's my day in the country. With simple people leading a simple life.
Later, on the way to Las Vegas, Nancy says she was saved by Priscilla's call. Ken says he is the one who convinced Priscilla to call, making himself the big hero.
You know, it was Priscilla and her silly phone calls that saved my life today.
I know.
No, darling, you don't know. She phoned just as I was on my last 5 minutes. She must have been sent from heaven.
I asked her to phone.
You asked her? Did you tell her what was going on?
Yes.
Oh, darling.
Nancy mentions that she has brought the sexy nightgown. All right, I want to thank all the classic people that are supporting me, especially Rambling RJ and David R. Conclusion. This was the first feature film starring Johnny Cash. He was much more prolific on television, with singing being his main occupation. The film was re-released in 1966 as Door-to-Door Maniac. This was probably done to cash in on the more relaxed censorship, including adding back a sexual assault scene. The $70,000 would be somewhere around $750,000 now. I think there are some time frame issues. Cabot kidnapped Nancy before 9, and only a couple of calls are made between him and Dorella. However, the climax occurs between 11:30 a.m. and noon when Bobby comes home. I actually know why this is not listed as a film noir on IMDb.com. IMDb doesn't include films made after 1958 as film noir. I myself go to 1962 or so for film noir, and I have another project coming out pretty soon that's going to give us a different take on film noir, so look for that to come soon. World famous short summary, that Ron Howard kid is going to be a major star. Beware the Moors. All right, there's some boxes here. One is a movie review that I recommend, and another is a playlist related to this movie.